Hello, my name is Dory Ryder and I'm a student in CSE 335. For my final project, I designed an app that helps users organize and save their favorite restaurants. As an overview, I used Swift and Xcode to create a project using features such as Core Data, MapKit, JSON Web Services, and UI WebView. In this presentation, I will talk a little bit about the design and implementation process, my application's functionality, and what I learned along the way. I'll also look at the UML class diagram, the MVC architecture, and I will discuss what I would add and what I might change about my application. First, I'm going to talk about why I chose this idea for my application and how I implemented it. My application uses a combination of table view and core data to allow users to save and keep track of the restaurants they visit. This is done using core data entities and its subsequent attributes. A restaurant info entity contains 5 different attributes: the name of the restaurant, the address, a brief description or note containing information about the meal or experience, an image of the food or the restaurant, and lastly, the user's rating out of 5. I will talk a little more about how these attributes are used for added functionalities later, but first I want to discuss the overall goal of the Foodie app. My main goal is simply to give users an easy way to remember the restaurants they enjoyed, and specifically what they enjoyed about the food or the ambiance. Personally, I love trying new places to eat, and I thought this was an application I could use on a daily basis. I also think this application is a great way to support local businesses and restaurants, and I implemented several functions to accomplish this goal, which I'll discuss in depth in the capability portion of this presentation. This is the UML class diagram I created to model my application. I use the master detail project organization so the user can see their collection of restaurants and then click on a specific restaurant to view or edit its information. The master view controller organizes the table view in its cells. I created a custom cell class called Restaurant Table View Cell, which contains the name of the restaurant, the photo, and the user's rating. This gives the user a nice overview of the restaurant. This connects to the Detail View controller, which contains the Core Data Restaurant Info object. The user can add as many cells as they would like, so the Master View controller to Restaurant Table View cell has a 1 to infinite multiplicity. The Detail View controller only displays one restaurant info object at a time, so this has a 1-to-1 multiplicity. The Detail View controller initiates the UI WebView controller, which contains the Google search of the restaurant's name. Now I will talk a little bit about the MVC architecture diagram. First, I will outline the main function of each area, and then I will talk about their connectivity. The model is responsible for the core data functions. The contexts within the model are responsible for creating, updating, saving, and fetching the entities from the persistent store. The model saves the individual attributes. The controller acts as a middleman between the model and the view. It uses UI Image Picker Controller and UI Navigation Manager Delegate so that the user can select a photo taken and save to their camera roll and then save it to core data. The view is responsible for the display and the user interactions. Within the master view, the view keeps track of where the user taps and identifies which index is being used on the table view. Within the detail view controller, the individual restaurant's information is displayed in an appealing way using UI labels, UI text fields, UI image views, and MK map views. Now I will talk about some of the connectivities and communications between the 3 areas. The controller communicates with the view by using delegate methods to update the view. The view communicates with the controller by sending information about the user's actions, including taps and swipes. The model communicates with the controller in order to update the controller with new core data information or updates the core data objects, and vice versa. The model and the view do not communicate. Now we're on to the fun stuff, the capabilities of the Foodie application. On the right-hand side of the slide is a screenshot of the application starting point, the table view. The table view contains a condensed view of a restaurant's information. I've used custom cells to display a picture, the name of the restaurant, and the rating all added by the user. A new restaurant can be added with the plus icon in the upper right-hand corner. A restaurant can be deleted using the edit button or if a user swipes a cell. A simple tap on a cell will initiate the detail view controller, which organizes and displays the core data information. When a new item is added, a new cell is created with a prompt for the user to click on the cell so the information can be updated. These capabilities provide a clear and simple way for the user to navigate through the Foodie app. We are continuing with capabilities. This slide shows a screenshot of the detail view controller. The top of the view is filled with 4 text boxes showing the name, location, description, and rating. The select button underneath the UI image view allows the user to select a photo from the camera roll. The Save Restaurant button not only saves all of these attributes to core data, but will also initiate forward geocoding and then display the location information provided using the map view. If a user navigates away from this restaurant and then later returns, all of this information, the name of the restaurant, location, description of the meal, rating, photo, and MK map view will be loaded upon the user's entrance with no need to press any buttons. The Search the Web button initiates the UI Web View controller, which displays a Google search of the restaurant's name. This provides the user with more information about the restaurant they visited. Again, the user does not need to type anything or press any buttons upon entering the UI Web View. Everything is loaded automatically. Lastly, the Find Nearby Restaurants button uses a Google JSON web service that uses longitude and latitude calculated with forward geocoding as parameters. I have programmed the web service to only return food and restaurant-related nearby businesses. This capability allows the user to continue their support of local restaurants and further enhance their Foodie application experience. During the design and implementation process, I have learned a lot about the development process, and I want to share some of these things with you. First of all, my application has several limitations. All I mean by this is that I believe the Foodie app experience could have been enhanced with the addition of a few capabilities. In addition, I learned a few lessons, and looking back, there are some physical changes I would make to my code. First, I want to talk about limitations. The Foodie app requires the user to type in the address or location of the restaurant they've added. I think the app could be more advanced if there was a feature that allowed them to add their current location instead of having to physically type their location. This could also improve the accuracy of the actual longitude and latitude that's calculated by forward geocoding, and subsequently, it could improve the JSON web service call's accuracy. Next, I think I could use the rating attribute more. Currently, it just serves as a way for the user to refer back to their experience, but I would have liked to have been able to sort the items on the table view by both name, and as it is now, and also rating. Perhaps I could have added a button that switches the sorting from name to rating. Lastly, I would have used UI Picker View in the Detail View controller. First of all, for the rating attribute, the user should only be entering an integer from 1 to 5. A UI Picker View would ensure that the user can only enter the applicable information for a rating. This ensures the information sent to core data is as accurate as possible. Also relating to UI Picker View, I could have added perhaps a type of food attribute so that the user can sort their restaurants based on the type of food. This would perhaps motivate them to revisit their restaurants because they could simply look for the type of food they're in the mood for. Now I want to talk about a lesson I learned while working on a class project. When I turned in my Phase 2 submission, I created core data context to perform actions. They're created properly, but they exist in the Detail View controller. When thinking about MVC architecture, I realized that the view controller's role is not to be performing actions, and these contexts should have been declared in the model. This is something I would go back and change after reflecting upon my work. Upon reflecting on my time working on the class project, I really liked the way it was set up. I feel that I learned a lot in my time in this class, and the class project was a good reinforcement tool. I have a few small suggestions for the organization of the class project, but I think it was fine how it was as well. First of all, the class project's timeline could have been stretched by a few more weeks, made up of more deadlines where we need to submit things. This would motivate students to add more functionalities to their apps at each deadline, resulting in more functionalities overall. Next, I think Phase 1 was completed a little bit too early. My original idea for Phase 1 did not include a bulk of the material we learned in this class, so I ended up more or less throwing the original plan for Foodie app out. We moved quickly in this class and we learned a good amount of material each week, so what I submitted for the first design phase is a misrepresentation of my application. I really liked that this was an individual project, and I definitely don't think that needs to be changed. However, I think there are some positive outcomes that could have been gained by developing an application with a team. Each team member can be focused on an advanced functionality, which could have created a more impressive application. I also think a team developing process would be a great learning experience, as that is how the professional development world works. Lastly, the in-class discussions and the examples for the UML class diagram and the MVC architecture diagram were not very specific, so I was unsure about what was expected. I completed these diagrams in the most descriptive and detailed way possible that fit the definitions of the diagrams, but I wish I would have had more reinforcement about whether these were correct. Overall, I have learned a lot in CSE 335. And I am grateful for all of the new knowledge I have gained in regards to iOS mobile application development. Hopefully this presentation has given some insight about what my final project is all about and what I have gained as a student during my time in CSE 335.